This is Super Yacht News with E. Sisman.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Italy. Doing a Super Yacht News out in the open today. We're traveling and got some technical issues with the computers, so it's going to be a very basic Super Yacht News in terms of how it looks, no ticker, etc. today. Now, we wanted to give you an update on the Greek super yacht fire, the fire that was on the island of Hydra in Greece, and it was allegedly started by people on board a Greek super yacht. So we've got an update on that, and as you know, June 21st it happened. The story is that allegedly the crew or guests of that yacht, it's a charter yacht, had charter guests on board at the time. Somebody went ashore and allegedly started firing fireworks off, or some sort of pyrotechnics, and it resulted in a fire on the island of Hydra in a pine forest. It was 300 acres that burned. In the last video I said 300 square meters, completely wrong. 300 acres is about 1.2 million square meters for your reference. So yeah, I was mistaken in the previous video, so I apologize for that. Anyway, Greek prosecutors have brought criminal charges against 8 Kazakhstan guests, charter guests, who were on board that vessel for moral complicity in arson in a connection with that fire. This is based on excellent reporting by the Maritime Executive. Like I said, we're traveling right now, so my research is MIA as well. So we're using sourcing from a Maritime Executive article. I will post a link in the description if you want to read the full article, because we're not going to read out the full article. We're going to just use some examples from it. Like I said in previous videos, the chances of them having 17 guests on a charter yacht that's only able to take 12 was extremely unlikely, and this article says there were 8 guests on board, all from Kazakhstan. Now, the charter guests in question who've been charged actually left Greece. They immediately left the country and flew back to Kazakhstan on a private jet. They were questioned briefly by authorities, but they were allowed to leave the yacht. Now, the Greece's Directorate of Internal Affairs has launched an investigation into the Coast Guard's decision to release the charter passengers when they arrived in the marina, or at the marina, should I say, even before examining the scene of the incident on Hydra for evidence. This is from the Maritime Executive article. According to a Greek outlet, the captain of a nearby yacht said this in his statement. He saw Persephone's inflatable tender boat on shore as the hillside blazed. The personnel on the beach appeared to be collecting objects, he said, and then the tender returned to the yacht. There were crew members in turnout gear on the bow of the yacht, the captain said, and there were signs of firefighting chemicals on the water near the shore. Now, turnout gear is what firefighters wear. You know, they have their boots on the ground with their trousers over the top, so when they jump out of bed they can jump straight in. Well, we have the fire teams on board of super yachts. They'll have the same equipment that firefighters have. That's what he's referring to in that article as turnout gear. Now, that's quite a damning statement, isn't it, if that's true? I would imagine that this person who wrote this statement probably has some evidence, such as video or photo imagery. I would also imagine that this person who saw so much stuff was probably using binoculars from the bridge of his vessel to see a lot of this stuff. He also said that he saw fire extinguishers on the vessel as well, on the super yacht, Persephone's super yacht. Now, in the captain's statement last week, he denied anyone started a fire or fired any fireworks. He said no use of flares, sparklers, or fireworks of any kind was ever made by anyone on or off the yacht. And in a relevant check, all the naval flares were found intact. Now, there he's referring to pyrotechnics that they keep on board for emergencies, you know, to alert other ships. You've probably seen it in films where, like the Titanic film and that, where they're firing the flares into the sky. They also have smoke things, and they have different types of hand flares and projectile flares that drop at parachutes with pyrotechnics on them. So he's referring to they did an inventory check of all that equipment, and that was all present. Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't fire anything. It just means that they didn't use any of the stuff that's brought on for the vessel itself. It doesn't mean that somebody in the guests on the guest charter didn't bring a box of fireworks to fire. right? Guests are connected to the former president of Kazakhstan, according to the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, or the OCCRP. The OCCRP obtained the passenger manifest. I'd rather just put them on the screen so you can see. I count 7 names here, but it does say the 8 people on board included these people, so it would appear that one person's name is not on the list. One of the people here is the head of Kazakhstan's largest bank and her husband. Now, the person who seems to be the head of this group, who's the person who owned the private jet, who flew them back to Kazakhstan, he made this statement. His name was Abul Ghazan, I believe. He said, neither I nor my guests carried out any actions that could lead to a fire. We strictly followed the fire safety rules established on the yacht. Neither I nor my guests asked the crew of the yacht for any other third parties to take any actions that could lead to a fire. We will cooperate with the Greek authorities in their ongoing investigation. In light of the ongoing investigation, it would be inappropriate to comment or speculate further at this time. So that's a statement from the person who was the leader of that charter, of the charter guests, it would seem. So that everybody's denying it. The captain denied that anybody on board the yacht or off the yacht, he said on or off, did anything to start a fire, and the person in charge of the guests who were on board also is denying it. So it would appear that somebody is lying, because it would appear that they were fighting a fire. If the testimony of this other captain is to be believed, he's referred to all of this stuff. Now, the investigators said that when they went back to the scene a few days later, I think it might have been a week later, they found the remnants of pyrotechnics lying on the beach. So that is definitely some direct evidence there that somebody in that vicinity was certainly firing off pyrotechnics at some point. So yeah, it's not looking good, and the captain and the first officer of that yacht are still currently in prison or in jail. All right, we'll move on. We've got one other thing to cover. We've got 2 other things to cover, actually. Motor yacht Amadea has left Everett, which is in the north of the US, which is near to Seattle. The vessel was in a dry dock period there, a scheduled dry dock period. Obviously, Amadea has been seized by the US government from Suleiman Kerimov, who's believed to be the owner. And there is currently litigation going on through the courts in the US for the US to get full ownership of it so they can sell the vessel. It's been obviously argued by, actually not by lawyers for Suleiman Kerimov, because he denies that he owns it. The lawyers are representing Edward Kutenitov. We'll have more updates on that in the future, but the vessel has left Everett, which is near Seattle, as I said, and it's heading back down, it looks like, to San Diego, as you can see from the AIS tracking here. So that, yeah, the vessel is headed back down there. Now, we've got some great footage in from one of our subscribers who lives in the area near Everett, and he showed us some footage here of the vessel in moored. So appreciate that. I won't be able to put his name on the screen because I don't have my equipment to be able to do that, and I don't remember his name off the top of my head, so I apologize if you're watching. Oh yeah, anyway, the person who sent that in, I much appreciate that. Now we've got one other story, and this is about Alfa Nero, another seized yacht. This is the yacht that was seized in Antigua by the Antiguan government. I mean, it's been going on for months now. They are paying all of the fees for that vessel and the crew salaries and everything while they try to sell the vessel. But the daughter of Andrei Gergiev has popped up out of nowhere once the sanctions were removed from the vessel and said, hey, that's my boat, and I'd like it back, please, even though I didn't mention it before, and even though you asked my dad, and my dad didn't say that he owned it, he said he just chartered it, but it's actually my boat and I'd like it back, please. So that's going on through the courts in Antigua right now. But in the meantime, the Antiguan government has announced it will cease public discussions regarding the controversial Alfa Nero superyacht until the sale has been finalized. They're saying that they are trying to finalize a sale. I find it a little bit disconcerting that they've suddenly decided to go quiet. I can kind of understand why, because there's been a lot of reporting about it, but that's where transparency comes from, and the fact that they're now saying that they're not going to talk about it suggests, if you were skeptical type person, you would suggest that something underhanded was going on, which I have no evidence to support that, but I'm just saying that when there's no transparency, then people start to create conspiracy theories, don't they? So the daughter of Antigua is still pushing on that in the courts in Antigua, and we've got an update on that. We've got an update on a story relating to Antigua, which will probably come tomorrow, actually. So yeah, so I'll leave it there, guys. I'm sorry, this is a bit of a jumbled video right now. Like I said, we're on the move, and our equipment is malfunctioning right now, so we're not able to do it in the normal fashion. Normally, I'm using a lot more equipment to be able to make this a lot more smoother. So I hope you appreciate the fact that we still brought the news to you, even though we're having some difficulties. I'm sure everything will be back to normal in the next video. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you've got any information for us about any of this, the stories that we've talked about, or any other stories, please be sure to get in touch. You can get us in the normal fashion. You can get us on the About page of the YouTube channel. You can get us on Instagram, on Facebook Messenger, on Twitter, and on Threema. And be sure to like this video. And if you're not a subscriber already, hit the subscribe button as well, so you'll get future notifications. And also, if you know anybody who's interested in this kind of stuff, please share it with them as well. All right, guys, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch up with you soon. From Italy, bye-bye.